the Arsenal City game on Sunday. What did you make of it overall and that 1-1 result?
I mean, I was a little bit disappointed with Arsenal because Man City, I think, are frightened of Arsenal now. You know, because they know they can dominate the ball, they can hit Manchester City with pace and in the wide areas. They've got players that can open up Man City. So they were going to have lots of possession, but I was disappointed with Arsenal in the first half that a lot of that possession was square and backwards. I mean, the out ball was always Madueke out on the right hand side, who did okay to a certain degree. He went past his man. I know Riley defended him well on certain occasions. But I just wanted more penetration. I wanted. There's no reason when the back players had the ball, and the only person really pressing the ball was Haaland, and maybe sometimes Foden went to press a little bit with him. Why does Rice want to come deeper?
I agree.
And why does Zubimendi want to come deeper? Let the centre halves and let the at least one of the fullbacks do that. Yeah. You play 10 yards up the field, closer to Gyökeres, and then you're going to cause more problems. But it was all a bit too slow and too much passing. And should we we'll pass it back to the centre halves. And it just allowed Man City to get behind the ball.
It's that midfield three of when there's no Odegaard, Merino with Zubimendi and Rice, instead of a Nwaneri or Eze who came on at halftime for that.
Do you think because they're frightened to give the ball away, rather than thinking, I can pick a pass out that might cause problems? And is that come from the coach? Don't give the ball away, keep it, let's dominate possession.
It's the control. I think the idea was very much the control of it, like away at Liverpool when they did it. The problem is you like creativity and you like play between the lines, right? And City are very vulnerable between the lines. We saw that against Brighton, we saw that against Spurs. And I don't think Arsenal did it enough. Is there a case from a coaching point of view, from Arteta? Eze has just arrived. He's been there like 2 minutes, right? And he usually plays on the left. That's what he did for Palace. To put him in that Odegaard role on the right, like he did in that second half, but from the start. Do you think maybe Arteta looked at it and thought, I'm not sure if it's a bit early to put Eze there, or he should have done it from the start?
He probably thought it's a bit early. Eze hasn't done particularly well. He's been okay, but he hasn't done particularly well.
But he's just getting to know the team, right?
He needs to build up his confidence. I think now he's played him in that position, and it worked well in the second half.
I agree.
I think there's every possibility that he'd play him there instead of Merino, because he's a player that can pick a pass out. He can run with the ball. He's got a goal threat. Yeah. Marino's only goal threat is if he makes a run into the box and gets in the air. And Rice is a decent passer of the ball, but he's not going to find those passes that Odegaard finds. And Zubimendi, I'm afraid, I've never been a fan of him when I was watching La Liga, because I always thought, has he got a forward pass in him? And I saw that again yesterday, and I half taking the mickey with Rob Palmer watching the game. So here we go. Oh, sideways. Can he pass it? No, backwards. And so with those three in there yesterday, there's not that creativity. But I also say there wasn't enough players in the forward areas to pass to. Because the two wide players were wide, and Gyökeres was trying to make runs, but he needed more support.
On his own, City scored on an Arsenal mistake in the sense that they beat that press, and then in transition, Reinders, Haaland hit you. Were you surprised that after that goal early on, 9th minute, they just refused to play and just gave the ball to Arsenal and sat really deep, 30% of the ball? Back five, which I don't even remember Pep Guardiola ever using a back five. One forward left for the last 20 minutes. Very un-Guardiola-esque, if you want, that tactic.
Well, I think it shows that he's not got confidence in his team to dominate against the very best teams. It was okay against Napoli because Napoli were down to 10 players in midweek. And they couldn't get control. The only player that really looked a threat was Doku. He got them up the pitch. Sometimes on his own.
Absolutely.
And you're thinking, well, that's totally against Guardiola's sort of mindset that somebody had to dribble their way out to get up the field. So, I was disappointed in Man City's, but I think it says everything about Guardiola and what he thinks about this Man City team at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Against the best teams.
Yeah, against the best team. But this is still Man City. And it's still Reinders, Haaland, Doku, Foden, Bernardo Silva. Even to a certain extent, Stones was on the bench. But even your defenders can play. So this is not like Stoke City, or it's not a bad team where you think, okay, those players are rubbish. Let's just hoof the ball, play deep, and just clear the ball every time we can. That's why I'm disappointed. I understand his evolution in a way. I understand the fact that if the opposition is better than you, find a way of trying to nullify them more than... But this is Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. This is a team that cost £2 billion. And to see them play like Stoke City, I'm like, come on, this is not.
I still think he had the 5-1 defeat in his mind
Maybe,
from the previous season. You know, we can't go into this game, try and press the ball and get played around. And probably the worst thing that happened to them is that they scored early.
Yeah.
And then they decided, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to defend deep. We're going to try and hang on to the lead. And they hung on to it for a long time. And they defended their box very well.
Yeah.
But you'd have to say it was just in numbers. It wasn't because they were tactically brilliant.
Yeah,
it was just we got numbers behind the ball and Arsenal didn't do enough to break them down.
Right, let's continue this chat on Guardiola, because I think it's the big one and the most important one. He tried to explain and justify in a way the tactics by saying that they were also tired because they played obviously the Manchester derby the Sunday before, then Napoli on Thursday in the Champions League at home, so at least no travel, and then in London for the Arsenal game on Sunday. He said it took them 4 or 5 hours to go from Manchester to London on Saturday. I don't know if they walked or they cycled, but even the train doesn't take 5 hours.
That might be why they were tired, because they cycled down.
Because 5 hours, I don't know, but hey, maybe. But usually they fly private jet, which takes 45 minutes from Manchester to London. But anyway, and yet they're tired, but he picks the same team from Thursday on to Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't think that was the reason why they defended so deeply. It's because, for once, they didn't press the ball. You know, Manchester City under Guardiola was always a team that we've got to win the ball back quickly. You know, when he was at Barcelona, he had the 7-second rule. You know, but they didn't have enough players in the front areas to go and press the ball. So he said, "Oh, okay, Arsenal can have the ball, and then we're going to defend from a deep position, and we're going to try and force them out into wide areas, and then we'll defend balls into the box." I just think he was frightened of Arsenal. You know, he was frightened of last year when they got beaten 5-1. He's tried different tactics against Arsenal because Arteta's had the better of him in recent games, where they've controlled the ball at the back but never got it into front areas in previous games, even the Community Shield. So, I didn't quite understand what his tactics were.
I agree.
But it could have paid off mainly because Arsenal weren't creative enough and didn't get enough good balls into the box and weren't penetrative enough with their passing and didn't get enough players in the forward areas.
Yeah. And watching the game, I was thinking, okay, that's how you want to play now, this back five when Ake comes on with half an hour to go. I'm like, really? But surely at training, right, somebody like Pep Guardiola has, and especially in a week like this where there's no time to train, right? We agree, there's 3 games in 7 days, no time to train. But never at training, he would have used the back five. Never at training. This is not, his training drills and exercises will be for that high press, to keep the ball, play in tight area with a man less or two less so you can beat the opposition's press. That kind of stuff. Never with a back five. Never with a super deep block. And so those players, okay, you on the day you say, well, Arsenal are better than us, so let's revert to that defensive mindset. But your players are not ready. And we saw that on the goal, the Martinelli goal, because it's the 93rd minute. Their back five, that back five should be on the edge of their box, just making sure that nothing can come through, and then you win the game 1-0. And yet they're 40 yards ahead. They leave space in behind. Nobody presses Eze, that has all the time in the world to pick the pass for Martinelli. Donnarumma goes AWOL because he's got no awareness of space. But we warned you, United City fans. We warned you about his good things and about the bad things. And they concede a goal in the 93rd minute like this.
It's what lots of teams do at the moment. They don't understand how to hold a line or drop at the right times if somebody's got time on the ball. Yeah. The worst thing you can happen in football as a defensive side is somebody 1v1 against the goalkeeper. That's always been the case.
Yeah.
But you see it happen more and more now because teams are more worried about holding a line and trying to play people offside than they are with actually seeing the danger, reading the danger and dropping off. They had the warning about 2 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
There was a ball played over the top, but it was a little bit wider, and I think Guardiola just got there with pace, but it looked as though, I think it was Gyökeres might have got in. On this occasion, Martinelli makes a good run. Ake doesn't pass him on well enough, or Guardiola tries to run on the wrong line. He runs across rather than on an angle, doesn't see the danger. And then from that point on, if you look at Donnarumma's position was on the edge of the box to start with, which... Again, coaches like goalkeepers to be on the edge of the box. I don't understand it because the goalkeeper, in my view, is you talk about Donnarumma. There's lots of goalkeepers that don't understand the distance between, between the ball being played over the top, who's going to get there first. As soon as he realised, he realised that Martinelli was going to get there first, he should have been back on his 6-yard box, ready to then defend the next shot. and come out at the right time for that. But he was caught in no man's land.
Completely.
So the only way that Martinelli could beat him was just loft it over the top, which made it easy for him.
Yeah, and it's a great goal.
It's a brilliant. It's a lovely run, good ball, and an excellent finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was made easier for him,
absolutely,
by the fact of Donnarumma was in no man's land, and Guardiola and Ake don't see the danger.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for Donnarumma, I'm not going to go back on it. He made a couple of decent saves on the Eze shot and the Madueke shot in the first half. Not much more to do. There's a couple of crosses where he missed the ball, but again, he's not good at it. Distribution, not very good, and we saw that again yesterday. But this lack of awareness when space is in front of him and the ball is coming, this is also a problem he had in Paris that is clearly not resolved there. But it's almost like City considered that goal because they were trying to play against their own nature, which cost them. That's why I don't understand. If you worked all week on a back five and a low block, then you do it in the game. Okay, at least your players are prepared. But for City players who've never played like that, Guardiola would have never ever mentioned a back five or a low block before. I think to have gone into that kind of mode, well, they just was not used to it.
But I'd also question the players' mentality at that point. We're 93rd minute, I think it was.
Yeah.
We're 1-0 up. We've got to defend for our lives. We can win this game. We've defended well for much of the game.
Yeah.
We've got to hang on for another 4 minutes. You drop off.
I know. I agree.
You drop. Okay, the ball's going to be played over the top. I'm going to give myself 5 yards start. You can make as many runs as you like, Martinelli. I'm going to get there first. You're just going to run into me
because the fact that they just push up right on that line at that time in the game, that would not be Guardiola or Pep lying there saying to them, "Come on, get out of our own box."
I don't think so. No,
I would not think so. Right. So the other day after the Brighton defeat, we talked about the leadership or lack of leadership in that team. So when they conceded that first goal in that game, when they were in control for the first half, then their head dropped, and then after that, you knew the second goal was coming. It felt to me yesterday that the lack of leadership from a Ruben Diaz or Rodri had gone off by then. But Diaz, even Guardiola, I don't know who, Bernardo Silva, I don't know, anyone would have said, boys, let's just stay here on the edge of our box. So there's only like the box behind us. Donnarumma can deal with all of that because at least he can do that. And then, like you said, let's just grind out this 1-0 win and we're good. And instead, they just push up.
There's another thing that I say a lot when I'm commentating on games, and I see it over and over again now. Arsenal fans are great at winding up the referee to say that Man City are time wasted.
Yeah.
But the more I see teams time waste, the worse their performance gets, and the more they lose goals in extra time.
Okay.
Because as soon as if you're hanging on, Man City were hanging on. The left back O'Reilly takes an age to get off the field, and as I'm watching, I'm saying this is going to cost you because the referee's going to add the time on.
Yeah.
Now. We're talking about physical tiredness, mental tiredness. When that board goes up and you're hanging on and the board says 7-8 minutes, it inspires the Arsenal players.
Yeah, of course.
And the Man City players go, another 7 minutes. And I see it over and over again.
Yeah.
The more you time waste, the more it comes back to bite you in the backside.
No, I think, I agree. I agree with you. When Arsenal went to City, remember last season, and played that whole second half in their box with 10 men after the Trossard card, we heavily criticized them for the lack of ambition, the lack of... And this with Guardiola, Stevie Nicol yesterday on the FC show said, I've got loads of respect for him because he did what he had to do, and which I struggle a little bit with killing Arteta for playing like that a year ago with 10 men, and applauding Guardiola for trying to do the same in this when it didn't work because they drew the game. It's better than losing it, I guess. But we're just clapping saying, he did what he had to do when we were very, very critical of Arteta a year ago.
Most of the times, teams don't say, Arteta doesn't say, right, just drop deeper, and Guardiola say, just drop deeper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's forced upon them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the other teams, the opposition have control of the game.
Yeah.
And you think, well, you can't go and press them because you're going to get played round and we're going to leave ourselves open. So sometimes it's the players that think, I'm not going to go and press that, so I'm going to drop deeper. But the fact that he took off Haaland, that was the big thing, when he took off all the attacking players and played with 5 at the back and 5 in midfield.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the problem you always have with that is that if Arsenal scored after 91 minutes, how do you get back into? How do you try and win the game
Yeah,
again?
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't.
No, definitely.
And that was the surprising thing. Not so much how they dropped, the people he took off to stop them ever being able to get
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah,
all the
that's
players that could have got him higher up the field, he took off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why the last 20 minutes, it was Sudoku a little bit, and then Savinho was the only forward he had.
Yeah.
The other 10 players
Yeah.
were all
Yeah.
defensive-minded
Yeah.
or number 8s or something like that. But yeah, no proper forwards. Erling Haaland scored again.
Yes.
He took his goal very well, but Reinders made it easy, I think. The second chance he had, remember early in the second half that Doku makes, he should cross the ball for Foden, right? Square it to Foden.
I'm not sure it was that early in the second half either, was it? I think.
I can't remember if it's an hour or...
it was a moment that could have won Man City
absolutely.
the game.
And then I don't know if he sees Foden, he could square the ball to Foden. I don't know if he sees him or not. But then he decides to shoot. Okay, no problem. But if that shot had been good, at least we could have said, okay, he almost scored. But that was a terrible shot too.
And he took it way too early.
Yeah, and because no power.
Yeah, because once he got into that position and he decided not to play it to Foden, because he must have seen Foden.
Yeah,
you
would think at that level.
He thought, I'm not going to play that. He could have carried it onto his left foot and got closer to the goalkeeper, so he could then pass it into the corner.
Even with Saliba coming across, he could still have.
And it was a poor effort, and that was a moment where you thought, well, that could have been the game.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed. Although I've always been quite critical of Haaland's general play, this season it has been slightly better.
Yeah, I agree.
He's back to, even with the goal, he made the first pass and then continued his run. So I would say he looks a better player this year than he did last year, when some of his general back to goal play was non-existent.
Yeah, I agree.
Last year he just became a goal scorer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And not a player that joined in, not a player that offered himself up, and that was what was disappointing.
Yeah.
This season I've seen a bit more from him.
I agree. Although he had, I think, more clearances than shot on goal or something like that. But that's the debate of Guardiola turning into Mourinho that we had earlier. We mentioned the coaching from Arteta, or certainly the cautiousness when he started, the coaching with Eze. Martinelli has become the super sub now because he came on against Athletic Club de Bilbao in the Champions League on Tuesday, scored and assisted. Then he came on Sunday, scored that very important goal, because I think if Arsenal lose that game, it's a very, very different mood today. At least they didn't lose it. Is that his role now? And is he suited for that role?
He will say not, because I listened to his comments. He's saying, I don't want to be a sub. I want to play every week at 90 minutes, which every player does.
Yeah.
But when he started games, he hasn't played particularly well.
Yeah.
And that happens to a lot of players, that they think, I've got something to prove when they come on. And that's what he's doing at the moment. He's proved on 2 occasions that he can be a sub, and his pace can get him in behind. And when everybody else is tired, he's got a bright mind, and he's made the right runs. And because when he started games, his decision making hasn't been good. He's
an instinct player, right? So he just goes.
But unless he can start games and start well, he's going to start to become the super sub, and that's where they're going to use him, which will probably not what he wants.
No, not what he wants. But I think he could be well suited in that role.
And on both the goal in Spain and the goal, he's making runs from outside to in. And that's where
he's most. I know you like that.
Well, that's the most threatening. Because once you get in, you're on in goal. If you're running wide, you've still got to cross the ball, and you've still got other people to find. But running from outside to in, breaking off sidelines, that's what he's good at.
This game was obviously very good news for Liverpool and Arne Slot and the players and their fans. They're 5 points clear of Arsenal now, 8 of City. They've got 15 points. City have 7 points in 5 Premier League matches, which from a City point of view is not enough. Obviously, 2 wins and the draw from Sunday. It's very early on, of course. We've only played 5 games. Liverpool will have tough games. They will have to go to the Emirates. They will have to play City twice still. So it's obviously far from over. But if you would say to Arne Slot at the start of the season, when he had all those new players to integrate, probably changing slightly his tactics and the way his team was going to play, that after 5 games, there would be 5 and 8 clear, he would have signed with both hands and both feet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's I don't think it's an advantage for them at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're going to drop points. They're going to go through bad. So they're not playing particularly well at the moment, although they're getting the points. And I think Arsenal are going to win most of their games this season. I think Man City aren't going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's still in transition. I still think Pep Guardiola is going to think, well, no, I don't fancy him in the end, and he's not quite good enough. And he'll come to the fore, this player, still looking for the right tactics and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think Man City will be title challengers. It's going to be between Arsenal and Liverpool, and I think it's going to be very, very close. So the 5 points are great, but it's not going to be a decider yet.
Yeah.